current revelation of Jesus. The Jesus that I met when I was 6 isn't the same Jesus I met yesterday and this morning. That's why and I hate when people tell us, the book of Revelation is not the book of the end times. I hate when I hear people say that. I'm about to read this. Because people don't like when I say that, but I tell them I don't like it. Ready? Everybody turn to Revelation chapter 1. I'm about to tell you what the book of Revelation is. The first 5 words. There's a law first mentioned for the scholars. Ready? This is what it says. The revelation of Jesus Christ. He had this whole book was to explain, and it was a revelation of who Jesus is. That's why folks are scared of this book. Because they don't want to know who Jesus is. They want to know what he was. And they want to hold him to old history. Jesus ain't wearing sandals no more. If he is, they're Gucci. Jesus ain't wearing no toga. That's not where he is. You have to have a consistent current revelation of Jesus. That's why in the revelation of Jesus, it says that he is Alpha and what? Omega, which means he's always beginning and he's always ending. That's why if you don't have a constant current revelation of God, your revelation of Jesus may be obsolete. When they had an outdated, obsolete revelation of Jesus, the Bible says that when he went, he was going to do some miracles in Nazareth. And when he got there, they had an old revelation of him because they said, oh, that is Joseph's son. That's Mary's son. They had an old revelation. They did not have the new revelation that he was the Son of God. And the Bible says that he could not do many miracles there. And they were offended in him. Anytime you're offended with God is because you don't have a current revelation of who he is. Y'all, and this is no joke. When I tell people, when I go into the spirit realm, and when I'm ascending, I see people who are there, who are illegally there. I see people who are there with dirty hands. I see people who are there for personal gain. And what I always notice is that where they're looking and where I'm looking is in totally different directions because I'm looking for Jesus. I tell young people all the time, you need to, if you got, people tell me their goals. They got 5-year goals, 10-year goals, all that. And I think it's fine. I think it's good, cute, good. I have one goal. And that's to be like Jesus. That's it. King David said, there's one thing that I desire from the Lord, and that what I seek after, that I may dwell. If your prayer list is longer than about one, it's too long. You got to have one focus. The other stuff, them is B's, but the A. Don't use your spirituality to see your own self. Don't use your prophetic gift to see what's happening in your life alone. Stop using your eyes to only see what's going to help you. Stop using your eyes to only see what's going to help your kids. What about them bad kids down the street? They need somebody to see Jesus for them too. And when God starts to change your position so you can see, and so now you can see, you're like, oh, my discernment is good, and this, that. Well, did you get a revelation of Jesus with your good discernment? Who is Jesus now? What does Jesus look like now? And we have been going up and we have been ascending. Those of us who know how, we go ascending, we go into the spirit realm, and we're looking for everything but Jesus. I want to, should I? I'm going to show y'all this little experience. So when I've learned to ascend to the point where, and I do it so frequent, that was making me nervous. Coco said, oh Lord, I hope I ain't about to die, because I'll go so deep in sometimes, and I'm looking at myself. And I'm trying to get back in my body. And it was scary. You know, ooh, Lord, please. At least let me get to, you know, I at least want to be over 50. It's not again. After that, we'll have to renegotiate. But, you know, at least get into 50, you know. And so I was in the spirit one day. And, okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna share this other. I'm not gonna share that experience yet. I'm sorry. Okay, forget it. So I go in spirit, and so while I'm there, I see this young man. This young man comes up to me, and so he's like, "Hey, how are you? This sounds good." He said, "I'm trying to get into this class, you know, but I'm late and da da da." So I'm like, "Come on, let's sneak in. You get you in." So I'm sneaking into the class. Now, this is not a dream. I'm in the spirit realm. Okay, I move. So we get in the classroom, and I'm trying to lean back. And I'm like, just get in here, let's fit in here, you know, before they notice that we snuck into this class. And the teacher noticed me, and she stood up, and she made all the class stand. And all the people were, like, greeting me. So I'm like, well, what is this? Like, they know me? So I got up, and I was like, hey, they know me here. So I told the young man, see, you good. They like me. You good. So I walk out of the classroom, and I'll go into another classroom, and when they see me at the door, they all stood up, and the teacher stood up, and they greeted me. And I'm like, what's going on? And so I started realizing this is my school. So I started walking through my school, and I started opening the closets and everything. And I'm looking through, and I'm opening up doors, and I'm sitting, and it was beautiful, and the campus was so beautiful. And so I went outside to look at it, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, this is crazy. And when I got on the outside of the school, there's a group of people, and all the group of people are all people who hate me. And I was saying to myself, and this is what I say when I'm in the spirit, don't forget this, remember this. And I'm talking to myself, don't forget this, remember, as soon as you come out, you make sure you write this down. And, you know, I'm talking to myself, like, don't forget this, don't forget this. So, there's all these people that hate me, and I said to the people, and I said, oh, I'm glad that they're here, because I want to know why they hate me. I said, this is going to be good. I said, can y'all tell me why y'all hate me? And the one young man said, because of who you are. And I said, what do you mean? He said, don't you see that you're a magistrate? I said, oh yeah, I remember that. And I'll share that story too. I said, I remember that. And he said, just look at you. And he did like this, and he showed me my shadow on the ground. And I'm looking at my shadow, and my shadow is like a regular, you know, it's black. But I was wearing a crown. And it was a gold crown. And at the top of it, it had this swirly thing that had these amazing colors like aurora lights just beaming. But my shadow picked up the colors. And I said, oh, I got a crown? And I said, look, and I started to look for Jesus, and I was like, well, where is Jesus at if I'm a magistrate? Then how great is Jesus then? And so when I came out, I have to pinch myself to make sure I'm really out. Because, amen, I'm making sure I'm out. And I started to write this down. And I said, God, why did you show me this? What does this mean? He says, because I need you to see where you rank and your position so that way you can understand my position even more. So you can understand the text, so that way you can understand those things. And one thing that I'm responsible for, the Lord told me, is that I'm a part of the magistrate part of the military and a part of the educational system of heaven. I am. How did I find out I was a magistrate? The Lord told me I was a magistrate. I didn't know if that was, I thought the Lord wanted me to be a judge, and I was like, no thanks. My brother had a vision. My brother said he was in heaven, and he was in this place called Kingdom City. And he said he was shopping, and he kept asking, what's the name of the city? It was like, Kingdom City. You know, it's Kingdom City. And he said, so he went to go shop. He went in. He said it was like a high-end store. He buying Gucci and Louis Vuitton, all this kind of stuff. He said he get to the counter. He said they ring it up, and they said, have a good day. And he was like, I don't have to pay for them. I was like, no, this is Kingdom City. So he was walking out, and so he said, he started realizing everything was gold. The buildings were gold, the ground was gold, everything was gold. And he said the city was like a circular, and in the middle of the city there was these gold domes, and they were on the outside, and then there was a real big gold dome in the middle. And he said, he said, well, if this is Kingdom City, what are those things over there? And the person laughed and said, those are where the magistrates live. And he said, the magistrate said, yeah, that's where the magistrates live. He said, you should know your brother is one. And he says, well, what does the magistrates do? He said, it depends on which one that they are, but they help keep order in the kingdom. So when I went into the Spirit and God showed me that, ready? I said all that to say this. So when I'm moving and operating in the Spirit as a magistrate, it's not my job to do my own legislative agendas, but it's to take on whatever agenda the King has. Whatever the King Jesus has, it is my job to enforce it in the earth. It's my job to make sure that the new initiatives are being done. It's my job to make sure that no child's left behind. It's my job to make sure that we don't have to have some type of, that we can have volunteer soldiers, that we don't have to do, what's the thing they call it? A draft. Where God forcing people into the service. No, we educate them and we recruit to bring them in so they can come in on their own. But I could never know who I was until I knew who he was and is. I have to have a constant revelation of Jesus, where he no longer has to be my rabbi, but he can become my Lord and my King. Where I can begin to walk out what he's already taught me. Well, he ain't still got to keep teaching me. He ain't still got to keep spoon feeding me. Here, little baby, I know. No. What do you see? Now that you're born in the Spirit, how does the kingdom look to you? You still hate the church? And you're in the kingdom? No, you're not. Because you understand that the church is the educational system of the kingdom. Yes. If you can't make it through the church, you don't get to the kingdom. The church is supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be irritating. Why? It's to keep out the riffraff from the kingdom. The church is the security check. That's why you have to graduate through the church to get to kingdom. But how I know you're not a part of the kingdom in the spirit realm is because you don't see it properly. You don't see each other properly. Rude, disrespectful. Ezekiel chapter 8. So what do you see? God wants to give you a constant, current revelation of Jesus, of the kingdom, to see the kingdom. Do you know what it means? Listen, this is what I tell people. Like, do you know what it means that God didn't give you a teacher to teach you, but God gave you a prophet to teach you? Do y'all understand me? I'm about to say that. A prophet always comes at times of transition. A prophet is a transition coordinator and a counselor to God on how to deal with you. So we consult God and say, God, well, Tamisha you got to be easy because, she don't like that. So, no, can you do it this other way for her? Do y'all know that usually when I'm up at night, it's because I'm praying for y'all and negotiating for y'all? That I'm seeking God for y'all. And then because God has a protocol, before God does it, God's not going to do it until he reveals it. That doesn't mean he's not going to do it before it's prophesied. Just reveal it. Hello, prophet. Sometimes be quiet, because you know it, don't even say it. Reveal it, meaning God doesn't see it. And when God allows a prophet to come, and a prophet was ranked, who has the ability to change a law for you, okay. Y'all, that's amazing. And I tell people, I say, I can be the greatest asset and blessing to your life. If you utilize it. Understand what happens when it's there. If there's a place that you need to move into, hear what I'm saying, because I'll give you instruction. And the type of prophet I name things. Very apostolic. I name everything. People think I'm joking when I say what I say. I'll call people this, and they laugh, and then next thing they see themselves doing things that they never dreamed of. One of my, which will come out next year, which I'm very excited for, one of my former clients and preacher friends is in a movie, and first time starring in a movie, and they gave her like a supporting role. A preacher of the gospel, who preached to hundreds of thousands, but we'll see her acting in a movie. When I seen that, I said, God wants you not to be preacher no more. I said, God wants you to be an actor. She was offended when she first heard me say it. She didn't realize who was present. Ezekiel chapter 8. Is this helping? Yes. So what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? You got to be able to see. Ready? So it says, in the 6th year, in the 6th month, we're there? Yes. Okay, in the 6th year, in the 6th month, on the 5th day of the month, as I sat in my house, with the elders of Judah sitting before me, the hand of the Lord fell upon me there. You ready? What is sad is that because the prophet has been kicked out of God's house, God had to show up at his house. Because you won't go to where he is. He has to come to you. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. He'll do it, but it's not a good thing. These prophets are saying, well, the Lord came to me, this, well, it ain't good. The reason why is because when he went to find you in the temple, you weren't there. So because you were out of place, disorder, he had to come to your house. It said, and the hand of the Lord fell upon me there. And then I looked, and behold, a form that had the appearance of man. Some say it was Jesus, some say it was angels. I'm going to say Jesus. And it says, and below, what appeared to be his waist was fire, and above was something like brightness, like a glimmering metal. And he put out the form of a hand, and took me by a lock of my head, and lifted me up between the earth and heaven, and brought me in visions of God to Jerusalem, and to the entrance of the gateway of the inner court that faces the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy. Say jealousy. Jealousy. Which provokes to jealousy. And behold, the glory of God of Israel was there, for there was a vision. That was the vision that I saw in the valley. Ready? And I'm moving very prophetically, so if you don't catch this, I know where you sit. Ready? So what happened was, because the prophet was kicked out of church, or the prophet left the church, that God had to show up to his house. And God had to show up to his house to position him back in the right place. And when he lifted him up by his hair and pulled him back to the place where he's supposed to be. And that place was between the earth and the heaven. The church is the only thing between earth and heaven. That's where you're supposed to be. Because you moved, he now has to take you and force you to come to that place. Y'all want to talk about Zacchaeus because he's a tax collector, but at least he has enough wisdom to position himself to see. You dwell too low. You love your lower state too much. You embrace that you can be mean, that you can be shady, that you can let somebody have it, that you got a smart mouth. You embrace that you don't have it perfect yet, and God is still working on me. You're too low. And you think that that's a good thing. And God has to come out of his dwelling place and come and find you, and then he has to force you to rise so you can see where you're supposed to be positioned. Why does God have to keep forcing you to come higher? What are you scared of? What are you scared to see? Is it that you're scared to see it, or is it that you know you're being rebellious and you refuse to change it? You can't get nothing done because you're too low. You're not meant to operate that low. That's why the Bible even says once we become saved, we are seated with him where? In heavenly places, in our rightful position. How is it that you're seated there, but yet you're still dwelling here? He said, and when he came to this place, and when God took him up, God showed him the temple. And when he seen the temple, in the place where God was supposed to sit, he seen a spirit of jealousy. He seen an idol god that made him jealous.